We talk about the disruptions and derailment that we have witnessed in the winter session of Parliament. We have seen the manner in which multiple opposition MPs have been suspended. 146, that's the number which stands right now. This number of suspension is something that we have not seen ever in the history of independent India. The suspension spree in Parliament continues. Now the total number of MPs suspended has gone up to 146. The suspended MPs took out a rally from the old Parliament building to Vijay Chowk, carrying banners that called upon the citizens to save democracy. The opposition has termed the en masse suspension a move aimed at stifling dissent. This narrative seems to unite the opposition, and they wish to take this narrative to town in India in the run-up to 2024. But while this may be the glue that keeps an amorphous opposition together, at least in political narrative, is it really the narrative with which one can engineer electoral victories? While I agree that the election victories are made of much sterner stuff than mere narratives, but no one can deny the central role that the right political narrative can play at the time of elections. With the winter session of Parliament being marred by a security breach, an unprecedented spate of suspension, it has also set the tone for the big battle of 2024. Will this narrative stick? Will this narrative actually help the opposition get the numbers? Talking about democracy and democratic processes, in the last 3 days, crucial legislations were without any real debate, but with the right dose of political drama. Our focus on brass tacks tonight.
अवसर दिया जाएगा।
अगर आप सदन में नहीं बोलेंगे तो कहाँ बोलेंगे? ये दुर्दैव है कि शाह साहब भी वहाँ पर नहीं आए हाउस में और प्रधानमंत्री नहीं आए।
We were there and we raised that since the Home Minister is very much in the house, why don't he make the statement which he made outside the house? So the convention is that when the Parliament is in sessions, no announcement or no statement should be made outside.
आपकी नियत है सिर्फ संसद को डिस्टर्ब करना, आपकी नियत है संसद ना चले। हम समझते हैं अगर आप दूसरे सांसदों के अधिकारों का हनन करेंगे तो ये कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए और हम इस कार्रवाई से बहुत खुश हैं।
Well, let's begin the show by showing you two sets of visuals. Leaders of both the parties, they staged massive protests against each other today. On your left, you can see the BJP leaders who are holding a mega protest at Jantar Mantar in New Delhi. This is against the opposition alliance mocking the office of Vice President of India. On the right of your screen, you see the opposition MPs staging protests against the government over mass suspension of MPs. The government has so far suspended about 146 MPs from their respective houses for their unruly behavior, and the number accounts to about half of the opposition in Parliament. No real debate, no real discussion. While during the protests, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge went all guns blazing against the BJP. He even attacked the centre on Twitter, and this is our Motorola tweet of the day.
Hello, Moto.
Well, Mr. Kharge wrote on X, and I'm quoting him right now, "We the people of India need to save democracy. Passing important legislation by suspending opposition is not democracy." That's what Mr. Kharge said. This is the worst kind of authoritarianism. That's our Motorola tweet of the day. Well, since then, the Parliament breach incident, Lok Sabha has passed a total of 8 bills and Rajya Sabha has passed a total of 6 bills. We must take a look at all the bills that have been passed so far by the Parliament because we as citizens did not get a debate and discussion. First is the Telecommunication Bill 2023. This bill seeks to replace the Indian Telegraph Act 1885 and the Indian Wireless Telegraphy Act 1933. Then comes the 3 new criminal laws, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita and Bharatiya Sakshya Bill 2023. These 3 bills together will now replace the earlier laws of the Indian Penal Code, the Indian Evidence Act and the Criminal Procedure Code. Then comes the Provisional Collection of Taxes Bill 2023. This bill provides for the interim imposition of increase of customs or excise duty, Central GST bill that aims to collect taxes on intrastate supply of goods and services, NCT of Delhi laws, the Second Amendment bill. It protects action against slum dwellers and hawkers in Delhi from illegal encroachment. The Post Office Bill that regulates India Post, a departmental undertaking of the central government. Most of these bills mentioned have in fact been passed in the last 3 days when we saw the maximum number of suspensions happening. After the mass suspension began, that's when these bills were passed. That takes us to our debate. Who's derailing democracy? Because at the heart of democratic process is actually an open, free discussion on the floor of the House in Indian Parliament.
Hello, Moto.
Well, let's take this debate to our panelists as well who are joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Ajay Alok, the BJP national spokesperson, is joining us this evening. Madhu Gaudiyaski, who's the national spokesperson of the Congress party. Smita Prakash, who's the editor of ANI. Professor Monojit Mandal, who's a political analyst. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very good.
Mr. Ajay Alok, I'd like you to open the debate. One of the key criticism of the government has been that important pieces of legislations have been passed without any real debate and discussion. Perhaps suspensions could have been avoided. That is what various opposition leaders, including Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, have said. Your response to that?
Well, if you have an intention to debate and if you have an intention to participate, then there is no issue at all.
Yep.
But when you don't have an intention to debate or participate, but only disruption is the intention, then this was bound to happen. Like, for what opposition was opposing? What were the demands? They wanted Home Minister to make a statement on Parliament security breach. On the same very breach, Mr. Rahul Gandhi and other opposition leaders were saying that yes, there was a security breach, but it was because of unemployment and because of high rise, and they were having a soft corner towards those who have breached the Parliament security, which is actually an act of terrorism, as what Delhi police has charged them. And now the various angles associated with it, we are coming to know all the feathers are being rubbed up, that this planning was going on for last 1.5 years, and who all are involved, where the funding came. There are so many questions. And when the Speaker has already called all the floor leaders to his chamber on the very same day, that is 13th December, and explained that this has happened, and we have ordered a high-level inquiry committee by the Home Ministry, and the senior-most DGP will be heading it. And once the details are there, intended, we are going to let you know everyone. Then what was the point in raising this, that Home Minister should come and make a statement? Because this security and the whole Parliament issue comes under the purview of the Speaker. And what will Home Minister will say? When you don't have any detailed investigation report, he might be knowing something more, but as far as the whole country knows, that was a restricted knowledge everywhere. And when you make a statement in the Parliament, it has to be authenticated with facts. You cannot go and say anything like what the opposition is in a habit to do, like what Raghav Chadha did in Rajya Sabha. He named the member without taking a consent. So this type of frivolous act cannot be done by the Home Minister. So what they thought? The best idea is to disrupt the Parliament. They started disrespecting the chair. When it was mutually agreed that nobody will come to the veil with placards and everything, they started tearing the papers and throwing it on the authorities of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. What option did the Speaker or the Sabhapati was left with? Nothing than to suspend. Because Parliament is run by the norms, by the laws.
I agree with you that the chair, if they have no option but to suspend, that might be the decision that they have taken, and they are in the possession of the facts at best to take that call. I have to ask you this question so that I can take the point to the Congress party as well. The opposition argued that if there was a statement that could come from the top functionaries of the government, including the Home Minister, outside the Parliament, if the Parliament is in session, that should have been the first avenue to give any kind of information. Rebut that argument, please.
It is absolutely a baseless argument, because in that function I was also present. When Home Minister was asked about the Parliament security breach, it was on the very same day, that is 13 December, in a private channel program. He said, yes, we know it's a security breach and we are trying to ascertain the reason for the security breach, and the committee has been formed and they are doing their job. And we'll come out with a detailed statement once the reports is there. What's wrong in that?
All right.
And what was the need for that? What is the point of making Home Minister that statement in the Parliament? when the speaker has already done that? When Rajnath Singh had already done that in Lok Sabha?
I want to understand this, that if this is not an ego issue, as the BJP argues that it is, that you have made it a matter of political ego, that you want Prime Minister and Home Minister to come and make a statement, if there was already all the information that was available from the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, all from the Speaker's office, do you believe the statement of the Home Minister without any proper inquiry could have really added any kind of substance to what was already known? And even if as opposition you insisted upon the Home Minister to make a statement, which the opposition has all the right to, wasn't there a less disruptive way of putting your point across? We as citizens could have got some good debate on the key legislations that have been passed.
Let me speak as a member of parliament for 10 years and also the lawyer.
Sure, sir.
I don't want to teach Mr. Ajay Lok what is the parliamentary proceeding, what is privileges. Let me remind him what late Arun Jaitley just said it, when it's a fundamental right to protest the opposition members when they disrupted the house, when I was a member of the parliament 2004 to 14. Let me remind him what is the parliamentary rule says. When parliament is in session, the minister, be it a prime minister or a minister, it's a decorum of the house. They should not make any statement, any policy statement outside the parliament. They should come to the parliament and make it. It is such a breach, security lapse. And who's going to investigate? Isn't it the Home Minister who arrested those accused? Who's investigating? Is it not under Home Ministry? What is wrong for Home Minister to come to the house and make a statement? There was months long they've disrupted the house. Never a member was suspended. Raising placards, raising slogans, though it's the Lok Sabha rule says that one member should not, but it's always done for years long. Never in the history of the Parliament of Indian Parliament have so many members have been suspended. It happens in the assemblies, but not in the Parliament. And it only shows the least respect for the parliamentary proceedings. We are a parliamentary democracy. And Prime Minister and Home Minister has no respect to the Parliament, not the Parliament members. You have mentioned in the beginning, such an important bills have been passed without any discussion. I was at a dinner, informal dinner with some members of ruling party. They were dismayed. They said we didn't even feel like debating or speaking when there is no members of opposition was not there. What is democracy says? Without no healthy democracy can function without a strong opposition. Let me remind one quickly. Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji called in 2009 Advani ji. This has been said by Sri Advani ji that when tussle between Advani ji and Sushma Swaraj ji and late Arun Jaitley ji, who could be leader of opposition, when they were fighting, there was a fear that BJP may split. And she called up Sri Advani ji and said the country needs a strong opposition. Please resolve your infighting. This is stated by Sri Advani ji in their parliament.
I take the broad points that you have made. And Mr. Ajay Alok, before I come to you for a response, I want to bring in Smita Prakash ji also into the discussion. Smita ji, do you agree with the points that the opposition is making or what the Congress spokesperson just said, that we deserved a statement to come from the Home Minister himself? Were these disruptions the final resort that the opposition took, or was this a mere political stunt to derail the parliament, as BJP argues?
Well, with due respect to the opposition, yes, before I say anything about this, it is a little disturbing to have such a large number of people from the opposition not in parliament. It just doesn't sit easy. But I certainly don't see this as obituary of democracy being written and things like that. I'm not one of those Cassandras who think ki sab kuch tabah ho gaya, sab kuch khatam ho gaya. We have become a USSR of the olden times. I mean, I'm not one of those.
Sure.
But besides that, with due respect, I just want to say this, I've been hearing this for several days on end about Arun Jaitley's comment, which is touted a lot by the opposition. In all my years of reporting, I have never seen Mr. Jaitley holding placards or jumping into the well of the house. Just because flouting of rules has been a norm and that should go on, That's an interesting take. The fact is that there are rules, there are laws.
I'm sorry interrupting
and
you,
if
but
flouting
I'll
of
come
the
back
rule
to it.
has become a
Sir,
norm.
please extend her the
May I
taxi, I'll
please
come back to
complete?
you.
I did not interrupt
Yes,
you, sir.
yes.
May
Please
I
go.
just complete? So it's like saying
Smita
that
Prakash
there
right
is
now. One at a time.
seat
It's her
belt
turn
or
to
a
speak.
helmet
Please,
rule,
no
but it has
distractions.
never
Smita
been
Prakash.
enforced.
Ma'am, no disruptions from here on. Please go ahead. It's your turn to speak.
Thank you.
Yes.
Like I was saying that just like the helmet rule was there or the seat belt rule was there and it was never enforced, so then why fine people? Because the norm was to flout those rules. Similarly, as journalists, we used to be on prime minister flights, on home minister flights, on external affairs ministers flights when they used to travel abroad. That norm was broken by the prime minister because he said कोई रूल तो नहीं था कि लेके जाना है तुमको. So there are many norms which don't exist anymore because there were no rules. Whatever the rules are, if they are enforced, I'm afraid everybody will have to follow those rules. And the BJP, what is happening is that these legislations which are coming into place, they're going to happen with or without the opposition and with or without the debate. The unfortunate thing is that people as voters want their representatives to be in parliament. I'm sorry, but the representatives in the opposition, their first duty should be towards the people who elected them, and they need to be out there when criminal law laws are being passed out there. They need to be there to ensure that they are discussing that, not about the home minister giving a statement or not. That doesn't really matter to me or you as a common citizen who vote for our people. Whether the home minister does it or the speaker does it, these are matters of procedure. Those fragile egos which are being hurt, we don't have an opinion on that.
All right, Smitaji, you've made your point. Professor Manojit Mandal, as Smitaji rightly said, it's unfortunate that so many opposition MPs have been suspended. And as a citizen, you feel disappointed because you missed a good debate that should have happened on the floor of the House. Look at the important bills that have been passed. But has disruption as a mode of protest being normalized in Indian Parliament? Has a wrong precedent been taken forward to a point where it doesn't justify its existence anymore? Yes, perhaps at some point disruption in a certain sense, in a certain magnitude was justified, but perhaps to take it to a point where it becomes completely dysfunctional was not really the intent of the leaders who started this convention, if it can be called a convention.
Disruption is a legitimate tool of the opposition, said by none other than Mr. Jaitley. I am not going into the detail of that. Whose responsibility it is to run the House? It is the Treasury benches. This is clear, right? And I tell you, my previous speaker was, delivering almost sermons. If they were so keen about debate, they should have called them back. Suspension for the entire session. You suspend them for half a day, 1 day, 2 days, fine. Suspension just to show the placard for the entire session, mind you. That is the point that must be discussed. If they were so keen that some important bills were being discussed, the speaker or the treasury benches should have had the courtesy to call them back for the debate, because you are replacing a criminal code which had remained for 150 years. Because you did not want these debates to happen. And that really compelled me to raise the suspicion that the whole thing was preconceived and precontrived. The Treasury bench, the ruling dispensation, they did not want any debate to happen. They wanted these bills to go unresisted, undebated. And on the other hand, you are talking about democracy. Democracy, I repeat, survives inside the parliament, which is the highest temple of democracy, is because of the ruling dispensation. It is your responsibility to rope in the opposition leaders. You are following
But Mr. Manojit Mandal, I believe there have been far more contentious legislations that have been passed on the floor of the House in the presence of the opposition.
Anusha, what were they asking for? When this level of security breach, it has taken place, the Home Minister has acknowledged outside the Parliament in a TV debate. They were asking for the Home Minister to come and say all those things. just 2 lines. So whose ego he was talking about? It is the ego of the ruling party, the Home Minister and the Prime Minister. And instead of what
Alright.
you do,
Ajay
you
Alok, your
suspend
response
one
on that.
after
I'm
the
sure you
other.
have something to say to what Manojit Mandal has said. Mr. Ajay Alok.
Today, opposition very fondly remembers Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj, who said that disruption is a way of running parliament. Yes, disruption is a way of running parliament, like what it was mentioned by Smita ji, that Arun Jaitley never went to the well. Sushma Swaraj never tore the papers. She never disrespected the chair. She never tried to humiliate the chair or the speaker anytime. Both of these gentlemen, lady and gentlemen who are not with us anymore, but opposition seem to be quoting them. What kind of a behavior and attitude is expected out of an MP? Why people send and represent and elect these MPs for? To become your voice. Say, okay, I go by your logic. Home Minister has a big inflated ego, so he never bothered to come and give a statement. I accept that. What does that mean? That you also have the same kind of inflated ego that you will disrupt the parliament and you won't debate and you won't discuss? You will forget your duties as an MP for what people have elected you? This is no argument, sir. Your sole intention was to disrupt the parliament, not to let the parliament function. And don't forget, we had only 6 days of session left when this.
But Mr. Ajay Alok, one of the arguments that was made, and I believe that's an argument that I should. One second, sir. That's an argument that I should put to you. That even if suspension was the way, that was the right way to go forward. That's what the chair thought, and that is a decision that is best made by the chair. Was it overboard? Look at the number of MPs that were suspended. Look at the magnitude of it. They were suspended for the entire session. Could there have been a more proportionate response? Could there have been a reconciliatory approach towards the opposition? Because these important bills had to be passed and we deserved a better debate on the floor of the House?
Definitely, we did deserve a better debate.
Ajay Alok. Yes.
And every opposition member was given a detailed report of all these bills which were going to be passed. They never had anything to debate on this. Mr. Asuddin Owaisi, who was there in the parliament when this CRPC and IPC bills were being passed, he made a very passing comment that this bill is going to intimidate some. Why intimidate some? If there is a bill, if there is a law which is very harsh on terrorism, why it is going to intimidate? Who is going to be intimidated? Today only the Home Minister made this statement. You never wanted to discuss this. This is the main crux.
Madhuji,
you never wanted
coming
to
to that point,
and
I want to touch
was the only way.
And I want to touch upon the point that Smita ji also mentioned some time ago, that the opposition goes to town with this narrative that democracy is dead. And as I said earlier, of course, the numbers are startling and the number of opposition MPs suspended is startling. It's unprecedented. But do we really jump to the conclusion that democracy is dead? The opposition has tried to pick on this narrative multiple times. They have kept it together. They wanted to take it. They want to take it forward in the run-up to 2024. But does it really get you the electoral victories that you're looking for?
Let me make a comment here as an ex-parliamentarian.
Sure, sir.
I wish Smita Prakash for supporting BJP indirectly in every debate. I wish the Modi ji make her Rajya Sabha member so that she can learn the parliament.
No personal comments, sir. No personal comments.
Who's responsible?
No personal comments. Madhuji, one second. Madhuji, one second.
I will not let you speak.
One second. Madhuji, it is one thing. No, 1 second. Please. Smita ji, 1 second.
He made a gesture in the middle of the debate.
1 second. Madhuji, 1 second. Please listen to me.
I said Arun
Please listen to me. Guys. This is not the way a debate can happen. Madhuji, you may disagree with what Smita Prakash says or what Manojit Mandal says, but I request everyone that when it comes to individual identities, personalities, do not make those kind of personal comments. They do not behove well of you, your experience and everything that you've done. And I reiterate here on the debate that any kind of personal comments on anybody's political affiliations when it comes to their intention are not welcome. Can we come to the pith and substance of the debate, devoid of any personal attacks, please?
Let me straight make a point.
Yes.
Whose responsibility to run the House? Is it ruling party or the opposition? Number two, you can move a privilege motion against a minister or a prime minister when House is in session, when they make a policy statement outside the House, they breach privileges. And Mr. Kharge has rightly said it yesterday in the press meet that we can move the privilege motion. But what's the point? The head Speaker of the House just listen to the Prime Minister. They doesn't even follow the proceedings here. It's a established rules. Like no minister can make a made ever statement when House is in session. And it's the responsibility of the ruling party to run the House, not the opposition.
All right, you've made your point. I have last 2 minutes on the show. Smita Prakashji, please, your reaction.
Yeah, firstly, I did not say that no BJP member didn't jump into the well of the House. I said Mr. Jaitley did not. So when Mr. Jaitley is being mentioned, he's not there. Now to go on to the other point, to just sum it up, Anusha, the BJP is going to go ahead with legislations now at top speed. Yes. They have just 2 months to actually pass bills before, and that which have been lying in their promissory note. So before 2024 elections, they are going to push forward, and they're not going to be held hostage to disruptions in the parliament. So they are going to use that letter of law, even if the spirit of the law is not being followed as per what the opposition is saying. They are going to go ahead with it with or without discussions. So the serial suspensions of the opposition is going to go by the letter of the law. Now, it depends upon the opposition whether they want to come back to the parliament by tendering an apology. If that works out, they need to go to the speaker and they need to talk this out. The fact is that the parliament today is in a fractured situation, but that is not going to impede in any manner the BJP passing laws which they feel need to be brought about before 2024 elections.
All right, that's all the time that I have. But one thing is disappointing is the fact that we have had such historic bills passed in Parliament. Political blame aside, we as citizens missed having those discussions which should have nourished the changes which are being heralded by this government.